say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had to.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Boy Kobe from Chill Fitness, and today, guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about first time competing. So if you're a first time competitor, this stuff is going to help you out tremendously because this is all stuff that I didn't know. The first tip is, how long should you cut down? I mean, that's like a question that a lot of people are asked, and a lot of people don't really know how long to give themselves to cut down. So I kind of made a little bit of a chart for anybody who is confused or whatever on how long they should cut down. You want to give your body an adequate amount of time to cut down. Like that's the main thing. That's the main priority here. And anyway, so it ranges in your body fat percentage, really, like how long you should take. Because I mean, if you're lean already, then I mean, you're not gonna have to take as long as somebody who's like 30% body fat, you know. So somebody who is at 30% body fat is gonna take a longer amount of time. Anyway, if you're sub 10% body fat already, which I don't see anybody being sub 10% body fat. I mean, if you're staying lean all year round, then I mean maybe, but be sure and get the most accurate type of body fat percentage measurement out there. I mean, like calipers and stuff like that. Well, I mean, they'll help you figure out your body fat percentage, but I mean, it really doesn't matter what you take, because everything comes up with a different body fat percentage. So you take the one thing, and you hold it, and it'll tell you your body fat percentage. I mean, that will come out different than a scale that tells you your body fat percentage, and it'll come out different than calipers. It'll come out different than everything will come out different. Just make sure and use the same exact method of checking your body fat percentage each time you check it. So sub 10% body fat, you should give yourself about 6 weeks. 6 weeks to cut down when you're already sub 10% body fat, maybe even 4 weeks. I mean, it really depends how lean you are already, but if you're sub 10%, 4 to 6 weeks, I mean, that's adequate amount of time right there. And now, if you're between 10 and 14%, which is most, I mean, I wouldn't say most people, but I'd say a lot of people are probably around there, 10 to 14% for your first time competing, then you want to give yourself about 8 to 10 weeks to cut down for the competition. Now, if you're between 15 and 19%, then you want to be right at around 12 to 14 weeks to give yourself the cut down. And then anything above 20% body fat, you want to be at least 16 weeks. So like 4 months should be, I mean, that should be an adequate amount of time. If you're above 20%, now if you're like 30%, then I mean, I'd say even go a little bit higher than that, but I wouldn't see you needing to be that much higher. So anyway, let's get into the second tip. The second tip is, where should you compete? So like, what organization should you compete in? And really what I recommend is, it's pretty basic. You know, you have like the IFBB, the NPC, you have like, really there's a bunch of different organizations that put on shows, and you can look those up if you want, but I would recommend going with the reputable brand or the reputable organization. So like IFBB or NPC usually should be just fine. Now, if you're gonna do like a natural show, I mean, you'll look into other organizations. You really just have to Google organizations and stuff like that. Just find them. Not that hard, but I just say go with a reputable organization, because that way you're not going to go wrong. I mean, because if you go on stage for your first competition and then you're only going up against like one guy, then I mean, where's the competition in that? Like, there's no competition. So I mean, if you're going with a reputable organization, they're always going to be professional shows that really just you know, you have competition there, and you know there's going to be competition. But as I said before, if you're doing natural shows, I mean, even these organizations do natural shows, but it's kind of just like urinalysis tested. So like you just pee in a cup and stuff like that, like right before you go on stage and stuff like that. So I mean, that's really all you do. So a lot of people will take stuff and then take other stuff to cover up that stuff before they go on stage, you know. So I mean, you could be going up against people that are on, you know, steroids if you want to be natural. But let's get into the third tip. The third tip is this is a really big tip. I mean, what I wrote down here is go all in or don't compete at all. And when I say that, it's not like, okay, so it's not like you can't have like one mess up the whole time and it's just totally gonna ruin you, because that's not, or it's not rational. But you gotta treat it like that, because the way to just come looking your best and everything like that is hold yourself accountable. Treat it like, I mean, you kind of want to treat it like one screw up will ruin everything. Just treat it like that. Like, and that sounds kind of intimidating when I say that, but at the same time, it's a really good method, because if you treat it like that, then you're never gonna mess up. And the fourth tip is, what division should you do? So for girls, you have the bikini, figure, what is it, like fitness, and bodybuilding. And then for guys, you have physique. Well, physique for girls too, but guys, you have physique, classic, and bodybuilding. So this is a big one, obviously. What division should you do? And my opinion on this is just do whatever you feel is right. So if you're a teen and you're like 16 and you want to compete and you do bodybuilding, you know, teen bodybuilding, I mean, you're getting yourself into a division that is not going to be very stacked, because teen bodybuilding, there's not many teenagers that are going to be in that division, you know. So I mean, especially because when you're a teen, you can also compete in the men's divisions. You just have to sign up for the men's divisions. So a lot of people, when they turn 18 or whenever, they'll get on gear and start competing in the men's divisions with the men and not even do the teen division. So that's why, I mean, I recommend, it's kind of hard to say, because a lot of people want to do what their heart desires, you know. But I mean, like the competition I competed in, there was like one guy or one kid in teens bodybuilding, and he wasn't close to big at all. He was really skinny, and not really skinny. I'd say he was above average, but like he didn't look like a bodybuilder, you know. That's what I'm saying. Like he could have made it farther in probably teen classic than teen bodybuilding. But I mean, there was only like one guy in the division though. So just do what your heart desires. Do whatever you want to do, honestly. But also, I'd say if you're 16 and you want to compete in the bodybuilding, there's no stopping you. It's also like you're going to be improving each year, and obviously when you're a teenager, you're probably not going to be on gear anyway. So I mean, everybody in that division, it's pretty much a natural. The teen division is pretty much a natural division. I mean, you're not going to see many teenagers that are running full gear. That's just, I mean, if you do, that's just really bad. Like, yeah, I mean, props to that guy, I guess, for taking that much gear so young. But that leads us into our fifth tip, and the fifth tip is, should you pay for a coach? I think for your first competition, you should definitely use a coach. Now, you don't have to use a coach. I didn't use a coach for my first competition, but I mean, if you need help, in my opinion, if it's your first show, now if you're a teen doing a competition, totally, like, I would say yes. If you know what you're doing already and you're in the men's division, then I mean, I would say no. Like, you don't really need it. But as a first-time competitor, because that's what this video is about, as a first-time competitor, I would definitely recommend get a coach just to, you know, help you through everything, help you through the whole prep, and that way, once you get through your first competition, you'll pretty much know what to do since your coach brought you through that whole prep, and hopefully he taught you some things along the way. I mean, that's kind of what being a coach is about, is teaching people. That's a big thing. You don't want to just go through the motions. You want to ask the coach questions like, why am I doing this, you know? If you're not asking questions, then you're not learning. So you're pretty much wasting your money if you're not asking the questions. So yeah, but anyway, that's my short answer, is yes, if you're a first-time competitor, but you don't need to. I mean, if you want to save the money, then go ahead. But if you want to do it right and go through the whole prep like clean and know what you're doing for the next show, then I'd say, you know, get a coach. Alright, so that leads us into the 6th tip that I have for you, and it is choose the proper size posing suit. That means anything like from like bikinis to board shorts to thongs, like whatever, or speedos, whatever. Yeah, like just pick the right size, because if you don't pick the right size, this is where I messed up. My board shorts were a little bit big on me, and they were like, there was like a little bit of space in between them, and it kept bothering me because it was hanging down and it was like showing my underwear and stuff, and it made the board shorts kind of look baggy on me. And when they look baggy on you, then it just makes your whole physique, it makes you look a lot smaller than you actually are. So I mean, as opposed to if you wear too small, then you're looking like it's just not going to look good. You just got to get the right size. And I mean, there's actually like regulation for NPC. Let's see, what is the regulation? It is the board shorts have to be just above the knee, and it has to be an inch below your belly button. So you can't have it covering your belly button. So it has to be at least an inch below your belly button, and it has to be just above the knee. So it can't be below your knee. And that's regulation for the NPC. And also, you don't want to have patterns on your posing suit, whatever it is. You really don't want to have a pattern on there. Yeah, that leads to the 7th tip, which is the tan. So for your tan, this is a really, you can do one of like 2 things. You can have, or actually I guess 3, but you can have Pro-Tan do it, which is a really good company. That's who did mine. Pro-Tan pretty much partners up with like the NPC, IFBB, and they will do the tan for you at the show. So you can get coats of tan at the show, and you just gotta show up at certain times, and they'll spray you down, spray tan, stuff like that. And the second thing you do is have your coach apply it, which is a good option, but I mean, not always the best option, because spray tan by Pro-Tan, that's always going to be a very solid option. Like, you're not going to go wrong with that. You have these girls that are, like, they do it for a living. Like, they do that. They sit there and spray people down like all the time. Like they're sitting there like spraying down like 500 people. Like, they've been doing it for a while. They know what to do. They're in a rhythm. They're probably not going to mess up. So I mean, even if they do mess up, you can have them touch it up. For your third option that you can do for a tan is pretty much apply it yourself, which I really don't condone unless you're good at it and you know what to do already. Then, especially for your first competition, I say go with the spray tan from Pro-Tan if the competition organizers are teamed up with Pro-Tan, which hopefully they are, because then you get paid for that, and then you really can't go wrong with that. So I guess that's my short answer, is just go with the viable, solid option, which is Pro-Tan. So that leads into the 8th tip, which is what food should you eat the day of the show. So the day of the show, I mean, you have your sodium and water intake. I mean, what I recommend for sodium and water intake is water, just keep that constant until about 2 days out, and then kind of just wean off the water, like just go down a little bit, and then a day out you want to go down a lot of it and then the night before don't drink any water, and then once it's show day you can drink as much water as needed. You just kind of have to look at your physique, and if you look flat then you drink a little more water because you don't want to look flat. You gotta find like the perfect balance of sodium and water, so you do not want to look flat. And that's a big thing that a lot of people mess up on. They just totally cut out water and then they come out looking super flat and they don't have any sort of fullness to their muscle. Like it's kind of a bad thing. So, and with sodium, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'd say keep it low till like the day of the show, and then right before you go on stage, you want to, I mean, people even take like salt packets and they'll just straight up eat salt packets. And that's pretty much what I did, honestly. Like right before you go on stage, you straight up just take a tablespoon of salt, throw it back, and that'll make you look a lot like really vascular, because what happens is when you have the sodium go into your bloodstream, there's a chemical that's released in your body that dilates your blood vessels. So that's why people take sodium like right before they go on stage. Is that funny story? Actually, the dude, one of my friends, is actually being rushed, and he's like a bodybuilder, and he was being rushed, and they were telling him like, you gotta go on stage, and like he was like, I gotta get more salt in. So he literally took his salt pack and ate it whole with the paper on it. He ate the whole packet with the paper on it, and the dude's like, you're a crazy motherfucker, you gotta go on stage. And it was hilarious, but I don't know, I can tell that story some other time. Finish the story. But what else should you eat on show day? Because that doesn't really answer much. I just answered the sodium and water intake. So just eat a regular breakfast, pretty much. What you normally eat throughout your prep, just eat that for breakfast. So regular breakfast, and then what a lot of people do is each hour leading up to the show, or each hour leading up to when you go on stage, they will actually like eat a rice cake with honey or a rice cake with almond butter. You eat like the rice cake in each hour leading up to the when you go on stage, and that will carb you up, and your glycogen storages will refill, and your muscles will look super full. And that's really what you want, is that perfect balance, because you don't want to spill over with carbs either, because I mean that would just make you look bloated, and that's not what you want. So that's honestly what I suggest. That's just the normal thing to do, is take a rice cake with honey, and say it like you go on stage at like 9 o'clock, then at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock you eat a rice cake, at 8 o'clock you eat a rice cake, and then whatever, I mean, it depends how flat you look. If you look flat before you're going on stage and you're pumping up and you're not getting a pump, then I suggest just throw back some carbs, like Sour Patch Kids. That is straight carbs, sugars. So, I mean, that's what a lot of people do too, is Sour Patch Kids, really anything simple carbs do. Now, what else? So, right before you go on stage, you want to take a nitric oxide, which, I mean, a lot of people, like even my friend I was talking about, the bodybuilder, he literally took Cialis, which is like Viagra pretty much, which is a nitric oxide, and it makes you look really vascular, but I'm pretty certain that those are outlawed. I'm pretty certain that those are outlawed, and you cannot have those if you're in a natural show. So if you're doing the natural show, then don't do that. But if you're not in the natural show, then it will definitely help you with a pump. Nitric oxides are really great for that. But anyway, and that's pretty much it for the eating on the show day. Now, tip number 9. This is a big one because you really have to know this. This is like the biggest one. that a lot of people do not know, and this is what to bring. This is what to bring and kind of what to do, like with pump and stuff, your pumps and stuff like that. So what you want to bring is a pillow, because you're going to be sitting there literally the whole day from probably about 8 o'clock in the morning or so to about at least 8 at night. So you're going to be there at least 12 hours. So unless you leave, or there's a thing in the hotel, or if the convention is next to a hotel, I mean, you can go back to the hotel or whatever. But I actually competed in St. Louis, and I live like 45 minutes away from St. Louis, so I just didn't go home. I stayed up there all day, and stayed in the pump up room, or not the pump up room, the competitors room the whole time, which is like a big room. I don't know if it's the same for every single show, but you want to bring the pillow, you want to bring headphones. That is a big one, so you can get in the zone, you know what you're doing, stay calm, keep your nerves down, because nerves can make you look bloated. Nerves can totally ruin a person's look on stage. So, because nerves hold water. So anyway, you want to bring water bottles with you, and with a cooler, and you want to have the rice cakes with you with the honey. Let's see, and that's the main things, that the water and the rice cakes with the honey. Those are the main things that you want to bring. With that, I mean, the headphones and the pillow are very, very key to keep your nerves down. Nerves hold water, like I said. So now for the pump up, what do you do? Like, you just do bicep curls, you do push-ups, depending on if there's dumbbells or what. Like, we didn't even have any dumbbells. Like, people literally brought like 20-pound dumbbells in their bags. So also I suggest bringing a band, like exercise band, one of those things. Bring one of those if there's no like pump up room or whatever for like with dumbbells and stuff. But you can also do body weight exercises. So with the pump up, I would say hit as many body parts as you can, and just do whatever exercise and rep range kind of feels right. It's a very vague statement, but at the same time, you really just, I mean, if you're doing like physique, for example, like what I did, you really just want to do upper body and maybe do some, like what I did calf raises right before I went on stage. So when we were sitting on the steps right before I went on stage, I was sitting there getting deep calf raises. I did like a set of like 15 calf raises right before we went on stage, just to get them a little bit pumped up, you know. So that's just so you can get everything pumped up and looking good. Hit as many body parts. But if you're doing bodybuilding, you know, you always want to get your quads, hamstrings pumped up. I mean, even glutes if you really need to. But yeah, so that's kind of all personal preference. Just do whatever kind of looks and feels right. If you're not getting a pump with one exercise, just switch to another one. Anyway, so tip number 10. This is the biggest tip, which I totally messed up on, and I wish I would have known from the beginning. This applies only for team competitors. So if you're a men's competitor, or if you're a women's competitor, like this is just teams in general. Do not only do the team division if you are a team. If you are a team, please do the men's novice division too, because I mean, that's if you're, I'd say 17 or older, you want to do the men's division. Because when you do the team division, say you win the team division, you don't advance from that team division, which I didn't know, which is kind of stupid for me to think that I didn't know, but I didn't know. I only signed up for the team division. That's all I did was the team division, and I won that, but I couldn't advance anywhere because you're in the team division. If you're in the men's division and you place in that, you advance. But if you're in the team division, you do not go anywhere. You kind of just win the team division of physique or classic or whatever you're doing. So that's the biggest thing. Do crossover. That's what they call it. They call it crossing over when you do more than one division. It costs like an extra like $100 to do a division or do another division, but I suggest doing it just because it gets your name out there. Judges see you more, they hear you more. I mean, they hear your name more, and they also know that because the teen goes before men's does, or whatever. If you're women's, teen goes before. So they're gonna see that you're a teen, and they're gonna see that you're competing in the men's division. That's just gonna put your name out more than once. It's always just a good thing to get your name out there. So that is pretty much my top 10 tips. This is taking a long time, but they're all really important. And I feel like this video will really help anybody who's a first-time competitor. They're kind of just basic things that you need to know that you need to know before you get on stage and compete. This is really just with any competitor. Most competitors will know this stuff, or most people who have competed before will know this stuff. So this is definitely catered to first-time competitors. So yeah, I really do hope this helped you out. If you enjoyed it, drop a like down below. That would be awesome. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I have a really cool video to show you guys that will help you get a bigger bench, bigger squat, bigger deadlift, more weight, more hypertrophy, everything like that. That will be coming in the next video. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. It's been Colby from Chill Fitness, and I'm out. Peace.